Yes, well, Scott Morrison before Christmas attracted a bit of attention when he said before a seat visit to the Central Coast he'd gone out and got a rapid antigen test after discovering he was a casual contact of someone at a function.
Just on the way here, it was advised of a casual contact. As I understand it, took advice from the Chief Medical Officer, took a rapid antigen test before turning up here today, and so just exercising all the proper precautions. I'm probably the most PCR tested, rapid antigen tested leaders of any governments anywhere in the world, I suspect. And of course the test was negative, but just following the proper precautions as you expect me to do.
Well, essentially this was after the PM shook my wife Diane Nazaroff's hand at the Sydney Institute function in December after a brief conversation with me on his way out and after his speech about living with the virus. 2 days later, Diane developed symptoms, and a day later, a PCR test found Diane had COVID-19. So I informed the PM's office immediately, and he took the rat. So I just thought I would clear up that mystery, Kieran. Diane recovered fully within a week. Myself and my children have managed to avoid the virus so far. Very much touching wood there, Kieran.
Indeed, and yeah, well, glad to hear Diane is back and at full health. This is something, though, an experience that you've had, that many of us have had at some sort of level where it's interrupted holidays or plans and so on. I wonder how you see the broader political equation now. I know you touched on the fact that the government's in a bit of trouble, but as we know, as our viewers know, still an eternity in political. In a political sense until the federal election in May.
Yeah, that's right, Kieran. And after my incorrect prediction at the last election, I'm certainly not making a call on this one anytime soon. But all I can tell you is what the politicians are telling me. And before we left for our Christmas break, I think I said in the last sitting week, both the opposition and the government seem pessimistic. Now the opposition are optimistic and the government is pessimistic. There's no doubt about that. The government knows they're behind. They don't think it's impossible. They hope there's a reset budget time and then they can do what they did last time, but they really know they're up against it. They know people are cranky and they know that they're cranky specifically with their boss, Scott Morrison. They feel that people believe that he's made a few too many mistakes, been slow on the vaccines, they're not happy about the rapid antigens, and he's really got the work ahead of him now, Scott Morrison, to win the faith of the public and win that election. It is an uphill battle from here for the government, and I think almost all of them would admit that publicly, even the PM.
So if you look to the budget, as you touched on it, a possible reset, questions as to how much wiggle room there is in terms of spending, given where we are. In terms of overall debt. So that's one, I guess, one question mark there. The other speeches to point to, one looming tomorrow from Anthony Albanese at the Press Club, a scene setter for this election year from his perspective, and another big set piece address by the Prime Minister next week, Andrew.
Yes, well, yeah, two big speeches. And Albanese, he probably doesn't have to do much from here, and he knows that. But Scott Morrison needs a reset. He needs to be clear and explain where his government's at. People are probably sick of slogans, to be honest, Kieran. They just want a bit of honesty. And this is where I think one of the few levers that the government has to get themselves back in the game is financial support. And so I am surprised they haven't agreed to enter in with the New South Wales government or thrown some support at business, or they're not going to, because it's quite clear that out of this Omicron spike, businesses are hurting. We've got businesses on television every day saying this is worse than or as bad as lockdown, because then at least we had government support. But from what I've been told, Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg spooked by the debt figures, the deficit figures. I know that's fair enough, but we're in a different world right now.